What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. I don't know why I'm smiling. I look as tired. Oh, I don't look as tired as the players. The players look absolutely knackered. But with Alex, and it's just us two today. Didn't have time to sort out a lot of stuff. And just Alex, today we've lost 3-1 to Arsenal. First of all, where do we start today?
I don't even know where to start. We started off the game really well. We were able to capitalize and, take the lead 1-0, early on in the game. And just after that, it just seemed like we ended up parking the bus, and that was it. There was really no fight left in us after 10 minutes. And, I it's hard for me to give them the excuse of them being tired, because Arsenal played as well on Thursday, and they were also playing away in Greece.
Yeah, but it's the size of the squad, mate. Honestly is a massive difference between an Arsenal squad and our squad in terms of size and the fact that they have multiple people for certain positions. So Smith Rowe got injured, right? Odegaard comes off, who's again the Real Madrid talent. Like we had Maddison, Perez, and Praet missing. Then we're playing Nacho in the middle. So again, if there are any Arsenal fans watching, you deserve to win. You can't really criticize it too much, but it's a lot. And remember what we were saying just on the post match, where if we get an injury to a key player on one of the pre matches, get an injury to a key player, and Europa League will take its fault on us. I think we're seeing it now. If we got through against Prague, we would be happy. But then we're going, lads, how are we supposed to balance all this? And we kind of have to just be a bit more realistic about these kind of things. And it's kind of we've been living on a bit of a cloud, I think, for a bit. Now we finally have come back down to earth. We're still, again, and Diego Cansbert is another thing. After Harvey's injury, we literally gave up. We'll probably come on to Harvey Barnes' injury, but it did feel like that. And that's how I felt watching the match. I was like, that's another big injury. And again, I was reading a stat today. Out of the 25-man squad, 16 have had medium or long-term injuries. 16! And it's not been picked up at all. But what can you do? What can you do with this situation?
Seriously, like Leicester City are in a place where you're using Scotch tape to fix a duct tape problem. Like, Rodgers is really doing whatever he can, and the staff are doing okay. Can we slot in? They're slotting in Nacho in the 10 spot, and they're like, we don't have anybody else. They're like literally plugging any gap that they can with any player that they think could possibly play in that role. And I don't think I've ever seen a season or a club that has this many injuries.
No.
It's just something that, like, I can't even begin to describe how they've functioned for so long in a level of compete that they have. It was bound to catch up to them sooner or later, because no matter how athletic you are, there just comes a point in time where your body's like, you've overworked me for a number of days, weeks, months. Like I can't keep going at this rate, and we're seeing it, and it's just becoming more and more apparent that we have an incredible squad when we are fully fit.
Mm-hmm.
But when the injuries start to, continue to rise, and, there's more and more, that depletion, and that club really just shows. And it just shows, like, we have the depth when we are fully fit, but when we are injured, there is no depth.
Yeah, and this is, again, Diego Canty, perfect comment, kind of, we have been hit horribly. And one of the worst things is it was going to, and again, Arsenal deserve credit for the way they played. I mean, coming into that team, I was thinking, no Saka, no Aubameyang. This could be quite good. Pepe, he's not too good. He was shown Luke Thomas, and this is what I don't want people to do, is get onto the guy and say he's rubbish, he shouldn't play again. There will be people like that out there, and I just don't think that's necessary. Pepe turned up today. He is a £72 million player. He hasn't been performing, and he was here to show his value. And he was coming up against a 19-year-old today, and he just went, well, I'll take this. And he took it, and that's why he was substituted at halftime. It's one of them things where we can't really do anything at the moment, and with the situation, because it seems like literally 3 days ago since Tielemans scored that goal. That match was, I don't know about you, but it dragged on for such a long time. And people are going, if we didn't sign anybody in January, we wouldn't expect it. That's a conversation for another time. I understand your point, but however, I don't think this is the time to talk about that. But since Tielemans scored, I tweeted out from the Beyond the 90 account, I was like, oh, here we go. If they keep defending like this, we're gonna have some right fun. And they did. But I think what it was, 2-1 down at half time, we could have come back into the game, but we didn't. We couldn't have come back into the game because it was just too much. It was too much. Arsenal were good. I've not seen them. It was completely different to what we saw last time. But I think overall, 3-1 was the right result. If not 3-0, probably, because apart from that one chance, I couldn't see we converted too many. Apart from Iheanacho skying that one over the top, and you're thinking, oh, God, Nacho, just keep it down. You've got a goal. Like, wrong decision making again, but what do you mean? And again, it's just put this as the same thing as well. So literally so there isn't really much you can do about that. And just, I think we've just got to kind of take this and move on, because I think like you, we're just deflated like the team. There wasn't anything really, but where do you go? I've not even got a point for this one because I'm just deflated at the moment.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, you kind of said it perfectly. Like, did we even deserve to get the goal? Like, it was great to have Tielemans score. Like, you know, he's been putting in the effort and he's just been exhausted, and so the fact that he scored is great. But like, did we really deserve it? Like, we played quality for maybe 8 minutes, and then after that, it was just nothing. And you know what? Like, there was part of me that believed that we could come back in the second half, but as soon as Barnes went down, you know, that everything went out the window there. And, you know, I think that injury is something that is much more deeper, and there's a much deeper conversation that needs to be had with that injury. Because I think that injury doesn't just mean, oh, you know, we've lost a winger. You know, we've lost one of our key players of this season. You know, same with Maddison, same with James, Justin. You know, we've lost Fofana, we've lost Evans, we've lost Perez, Praet. You know, the list just keeps going on and on and on. And the conversation that, you know, I think a lot of fans are going to start having is, you know, is this the injury that pushes us out of the top 4? Because I think this is the first thing I thought of was when Barnes went down. I said, if this is long term, I don't know how we could sustain a top 4 finish or even a top 5, you know, or even make it into the Europa at this rate, because of the rate of injuries, which is brings you on to another question of, if we don't make the Champions League or the Europa League, someone at a high quality level will be sold to, and then you start worrying about, you know, can this team stay together? Like this, it's kind of like it's as bad as it sounds. It's kind of like one injury leads to another, and then this Barnes injury just kind of, you know, it's like you're taking the legs right out from under the chair, and, you know, everything just kind of starts to free fall, and then the questions are going to start being asked.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And Glenn says at one point he says, apart from Maddison, that was arguably our best starting 11. And I do agree. However, the context of that is the amount of games they've played in the amount of time. And that was, I think, the most disappointing thing. They tried, because that, again, normally you see players like Ricardo and even Castagna bombing up and down the wings, taking players on, like going forward, and it didn't seem to be there at the moment. And it's easier to feel down and gloom, and I thought this would be the result that will push us back. Right, now it's time to kick on. What will happen now is the narrative used to be, oh, Leicester they're coming into the top 6, and I can see the narrative now being Leicester are bottle jobs for 2 years in a row because we've lost 2 games. And it's very easy to flip the switch, but it's not as, you can see this result and go, okay, we've lost, but we have to take this into consideration. Still, if we look at the position in the table, look where we are, we've got to be a bit grateful for how it's going. Because at the moment, if I just I'll get up the table in a second, but it is what it is. I think Glenn's kind of cheered me up with a little point. He goes, again, we've got our next home game is against Sheffield in 2 weeks. Will they be played at the King Power or the Royal Infirmary? Which is this, if you ever come, it's the one that's right around the corner from the King Power Stadium as well, from the hospital. So it does seem like that at the moment, but it's easy to see down and gloom. I think that players like, again, Barnes was a big loss, and that showed on the pitch. Everybody was like, well, what do we do now? What do we do now? Which isn't the mentality, but if you're missing him, and then you're... Marco Bratton tried, but he wasn't quite there. Nacho did a couple of good things, but it's out of his position, and he was kind of just again, as you were saying, just trying to... okay, you just do this, and they're going, oh, I don't know. How do we fix this position? And it kind of just went, because Arsenal weren't amazing in this game. They weren't incredible. We weren't worried about it every single time. But the thing is, they're designed to have a squad that works in Europe and the Premier League. We're not. And we thought we were getting there. But if you think about players like Tielemans that have played every single minute, and for me, that is the player, if we lose, I don't think we're getting Champions League. But that's the player, in my opinion. So now we're going to just have to wait and see. Again, so glad we've not got Europa now. Now that makes the Europa League look so much different. But I can't really fault ourselves, because I think we tried to sit back and soak up the pressure. And I think the tiredness just kicked in. Nobody was really defending for their lives, And I don't want to slate the team, because they were bad, but they were not bad because they weren't trying. You could tell they were trying, but I just don't know at this point. Again, it's what is the issue, and where do you think we're going to be? Because there are worse teams than us, but if we still slip out and get Europa League again, I think we could look at that in a different time. Because again, if I just share my screen now, and I'll be able to show you some of the things that were said, some of the Premier League table, for example. So if you look, after that result, 26 games, won 15, drawn 4, lost 7. That's still a good position, 49 points. I know Manchester United have to play. Even if West Ham and Chelsea win, they still don't go above. Well, West Ham, sorry, they won. Still 4 points difference. With Chelsea, if they win their game against Manchester United, so that would be best case scenario for us, they move up to 46. So it's not doom and gloom. We're not just hanging on like we were for dear life, It's not as bad as we first thought, in my opinion. So it's not great, I'm going to be honest. However, again, they can't... people talk about plan Bs and things. It's just one of those things where we've just got to kind of ride this out and see where it goes. And it's just down to injuries. And for me, Barnes was such a big injury in that one, and Johnny Evans. And I'm sorry, but I think we'll talk about Barnes for this bit. I've just been ranting and rambling on for a little bit. With that Barnes injury, I went, oh no! I just went, oh no! That when he went down, and then when the stretch came over, I was like, I just had James Justin all over again, and we're hoping that it's not a long one, but that's going to put a real dent in our. If you think about it, Vardy's not hitting form at the moment.
Oh no,
he doesn't really have anything to really go off today, so I can't judge him too much. Barnes is out, Maddison is out. It's not looking pretty. But just back to Barnes, I mean, you probably think the same thing when he overstretched, and I know you've had a knee injury as well, but this one might be a long-term one. Do you think?
Yeah, and coming from someone who's had 2 knee surgeries on a knee, knees are a completely different thing compared to anything else in the body when it comes to injuries. When I first hurt my knee, I originally thought I just tweaked it. Ended up walking around on it, and then about a week later, I could barely put any pressure on it, and because of the length of the injury, and that I had 2 knee surgeries, and now I'm still recovering from it. And so knees are a completely different thing. So when I saw him go down and I saw the stretcher come out, I just got flashbacks, Justin, but at the same time, I got flashbacks for myself, being like, knees are just, completely different monster to deal with and to recover with. So, it really is, it's kind of like that extra dagger to the heart. We've gotten a few daggers to the heart already this season, and like all of a sudden, that extra one just kind of slipped in and was like, surprise. And, there goes the extra dagger. And it's so unfortunate, because like it's not our play that has been the reason why
Yes.
we are in this position. It is because of injuries. And that's the difference. And like you said before, you can just see like the news, coming out with headlines being like Leicester will bottle, second year in a row. And they don't have they just focus on the fact that, Leicester's been in the top 4 for the entire season until the last few weeks, or, whatever they decide to write if that happens. But they'll forget to mention, because they always do, but Leicester have dealt with injuries from, and then, you name the players down the list.
16 of 25. That's the majority, over half.
Yeah.
Way over half.
And it's not like a short-term injury. We've been dealing with players that are out for like 3-4 weeks, and then all the way up to months, and you have, and I'm not ripping teams like Liverpool or any of these other teams that have been dealing with injury, because this is a season of injuries. But, the news agencies are just being like, well, Liverpool lost this game, but they're dealing with 3 injuries. And it's like, and I'm not being one to, being like, well, Leicester dealing with, X, Y, and Z. But it's like, if you're going to
mentioned at least.
Exactly. It's like, this didn't happen because, their poor performance. It happened because, half their starting 11 is dealing with long-term injuries. And that's the difference. And that's the thing that's, I think, the one thing I've been really focusing in on is that, this is something that we can't control. Injuries are something that we can't control, and we just have to let it, bide its time. And that's the difference between if we were playing poorly compared to injuries. Yeah. And that's the difference. And, unfortunately, we just have to deal with it. And it really it is a mood killer. It is just, it's gut-wrenching. It's sad. It just, for the level of play that we have played this year, it really is just numbing.
Yeah.
To watch them play.
Yeah, it is true. And dear Kante, again, I know he's probably thinking he's one of a favourite, but he makes some good points again. They've just got to keep going. You've got to keep going. We haven't got a choice. And some people have already suggested the amount of people that we do have strength and depth a little bit, but like the likes of Tavares, Daley Campbell, George Hurst, Chowdhury. Chowdhury is probably the only example that has actually got Premier League experience. Look at Tavares, never played in the Premier League. He's barely played for the under-23s. Daley Campbell, again, he's played 1 game against Brighton in the Cup, George Hurst has 1 little performance against, or couple maybe, against Tottenham when we were 3-0 down. Well, I might as well give it a go. It's not the like. I just want to bring it back. Let me just get this at the stream now. So if you can see, that's our lineup. Obviously, that's Shaw. So again, we'll come on to that in a bit. Some of the injuries again. Amate, I think, actually did really well against Pepe today, and he deserves some praise for that. And he didn't seem like himself. Ricardo Pereira in the first half looked quite decent, but like the bench of Albrighton, Ward, Amate, under Chowdhury, Mendy, Fuchs, Daley Campbell, Tavares. Again, how many players have like at least 5 Premier League games? Tavares doesn't. Daley Campbell doesn't. He has 0. Fuchs, I think, I might have played 5 games this season. Like Amate's just about played 5. There isn't a lot. Now you go to Arsenal. Yes, they did change their team today against Suarez. They had Marian, who was the issue for the first goal. But however, again, kind of a mixed side. But again, on the bench, they have Aubameyang, they have Ceballos, Saka, Bellerin, like Holding, Partey, Martinelli. That bench, again, this is designed for Premier League football and playing European football. We don't have that strength. When they're fully fit, we could potentially add that. Yes, they are. However, at the moment, it's just one thing, and we aren't designed for it. And it's okay that we are building in the right direction and we're not quite there yet. And remember what Rich was saying on Friday when he goes, that it was this season that was the issue. This season and how quick the games are coming and how Europe is going to... Champions League next year will be different because we're not playing as many games as quick a time. And again, JT makes a brilliant bit where I'm not even deflated, I'm just heartbroken. And I think that's what it is. 2 properly talented people that we're going to basically... And we've seen... we've seen that Gareth Southgate has been in the squad And he's been looking at Leicester and looking at the likes of Maddison, looking at the likes of James Harvey Barnes, looking at James Justin. All three were missing today. And I imagine that's the three that he was most looking at to get into that squad. All of them out. Barnes will have to see about the length of the injury that is, but I think, again, people are tuning in now, and thank you for all your comments and everything, but it's different. People are being negative. I get it. Somebody said it looks like that. It reminds me of Claude Puel days. No, Claude Puel's day, we didn't play well because we were terrible.
Yeah.
This is not a terrible. This is not Brendan Rodgers' fault always. Brendan Rodgers says the players look running to the ground. In the final third, they weren't creating anything, not because they didn't want to, just because they didn't have the energy to. They can't compete on this many fronts at the same time. And it is what it is at the moment. I can't really. And again, people are being super negative. Again, JT, Ethan, we can't get into Europe. No, we can. We have the squad to get into Europe. We just don't have it in the moment. However, now the priority is all Premier League. Even the Cup, throw that away, play the under-23s, or concentrate only on the league, because we don't know how long some of these injuries are going to be. As you were saying with like Maddison with the hip injury, we don't know how long that's going to be for. And as you were saying, these injuries can get better. Look at Ricardo, who was supposed to come back. We injured in March, and he injured himself again in the groin. And these things continue to continue. Again, there's people who were saying on our commentary there could be opportunity for young people, for the young players, as mentioning like Daily K or Lesha Bella is another one as well. Tavares, they might get minutes. However, that is, if that's not chucking them at the deep end, I don't know what is. Like, I don't know what is. People have mentioned, I've just seen somebody mentioning Luke Thomas again. He's 19 against potentially one of the best players. I'm sorry, I'll let you go, Alex. I know I've just ranted on a little bit, but I think it's not as easy as we were crap, we don't deserve it. It's not. There's a more nuanced take to it than we're just terrible.
Yeah, you know what? And people might not like this opinion, because the easiest way to put it is, oh, we were crap. We didn't deserve the win. To be fair, Arsenal were the better team, and they deserved the win. And that's true. 100%. That is a true thing to say. The other thing is we are dealing with a depleted lineup and a depleted depth that I've never seen in any sport. And, I've been watching, I just don't watch football. I watch hockey. I watch American football. I watch baseball. I watch a ton of sports, but I've never seen a list of injuries to a starting, lineup like this, and I think that's huge. And you got players, Rodgers is trying to do what he can with what is available to him. He can't go out and be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to bring in X from, I'm going to bring in Alphonso Davies from Bayern Munich because, he wants to come over here and we're going to give him 30 million to come over. It's not going to happen,
Exactly.
Leicester are dealing with this in a way of like, okay, what do we have? What can we do with it? And that's the big thing, when you bring in Luke Thomas is 19. He's barely played this season. And you know what? I got to give it to him. He has played exceptionally well for a 19-year-old who's barely played this season. And I think the biggest thing that I have an issue with, and it's not just Leicester City, it's fan bases across, every sports that you can possibly think of, they are so quick to react.
Yeah.
One bad performance and they've written him off, or they've written, and you need to just sit down, you need to analyze, and you really need to think about, imagine you going in at 19 years old and playing against some of the best players in the world. If I did that at 19, I'd be absolute garbage, and I'd be heckled by everyone.
I'd be drunk every weekend just trying to cope with it.
And this is the thing, like, as fans, you can easily be like, oh, he's garbage, he can't do that. But you know what? Like put yourself in their shoes, barely been playing, being slotted in, being like, hey, you're in today. You're our next player.
Yeah.
You're facing off against Pepe, or you're facing off against, De Bruyne, or someone like to a caliber, being like, you're slotting in, and you're thinking like, dude, I'm 19.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 19.
And that's exactly the issue that Harvey Barnes had when he first came into the Premier League. He was like, I'm only 21. And he was missing loads of chances. But Ben Chilwell, in the exact same position with so many mistakes, and people were slating it. It slating him. And I went, Yes, but he's young. He's going to get better. Got into the England team, and now we were sold him for 50 mil. It'll be the same thing. The difference is, Bavs, again, shout out to Bavs. I'll try to get on his show, but the audio wasn't working. He was saying that, for example, because why can't... So there was a whole discussion. I think it would be interesting to bring this back to this kind of point a while ago. Why is Leicester's recruitment so good? And Babs is an Arsenal fan, and he goes, well, we can't look at James Justin. James Justin was brought in for a reason to then become this amazing player. Arsenal would never do that. Tottenham would never do that. Man City would never give that player that kind of time in the first team or to play and develop. And we've got to be grateful for that. And this is the thing with young players. We've seen it last year where they can go through spouts, but it's not even that they're not even performing. It's just that the injuries and again, we're having to rely. Look at Southampton. They've had exactly the same problem as us, where they've had a few injuries and then they're literally playing the under 23s. People have not played Premier League football and they've fallen. I'm not saying we're going to do the same thing. I'm not saying that it's just hard. And bearing in mind, they haven't had Europa and they haven't had these kind of injuries as well. So I think we just have to. People, I don't know. I'm just a bit not frustrated at the performance, but frustrated on the way that we're going to receive from this result. Because again, I will take it back to I'll find it. With all the injuries, how well we're doing. I've just gone on the wrong tab. I went on rugby union. No, wrong one. Let's go to table, and get it up here. Again, we are on 15 wins, 4 draws, and 7 losses. With that, we are doing fantastically well. So I don't want to hear that this is how you have to take that, in my opinion, because you have to look at the positives. And to be fair, that is a hell of a positive to take, in my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are, Alex, but again, just like the Prague result, we have to see the positives in this. There are many negatives, and we've had our moans. However, this is still a very good position. And these players, again, there's where's Europa League? I think 6, 40 points. They're both on 40. That is 9 points. And they've still got, they've got a couple of games to play, but that's still a big difference, in my opinion.
I think you also need to look at the fact that Leicester have played the entire season with an injury-depleted lineup.
Yeah.
They have never had a fully fit lineup, and if they have, it's only been 1 game. And here we are. You know what? And I think you can look at it. You can really. I'm going to try to turn this into a positive. Leicester City have never been given credit where credit is due.
Yes.
We are little Leicester. We've always been, and we always will be, in my opinion. You know what? Yeah. And that is something, even this season, that we have really taken hold of. Injuries, being overanalyzed and just kind of left to the curb. We've still been able to contend, and we're still in the top 4. And I think that's one thing that I've continually forgotten today, is that we're still in the top 4.
Yeah.
We're still here, and we have fought, we have clawed our way through games left, right, and center. And you know what? This team is hungry, and I think give that opportunity to the young players. We've been talking about this, give that opportunity to the young players, because they're going to be the type of players that are going to be like, you know what, this is my opportunity to shine. Mm-hmm. Look at last season, James Justin. Ricardo goes out. James Justin goes in. Was barely playing at that point of the season. Fast forward a year from when that happened, we are crying out because he's out for their year. Because he was one of the best players on the entire squad.
Yes. Since
coming in. Who's to say that could be Daley Campbell? Who's to say that could be, Luke Thomas? Who's to say that, this is a good way, or like Tavares or Lechabella, or there's all these, there's players that you don't know that could be, ready to take up that mantle. And I'm just reading the chat, and I did see what Glenn said about Brendan Rodgers, about Harvey Barnes, and that is a killer. And you know what?
We knew it was going to happen, but hearing it, again, thanks, Glenn. I'll get to your other comment as well. But again, it's a punch in the gut. That's properly just, and I think that was the case in general. But That is not what we wanted to hear. But sorry, back to your point.
But you know what? Even with the Barnes information about being out at least 6 weeks, you got to look at this and being like, okay, it's players' time to step up. We've been talking about how disappointed we have been with Under.
Yeah, your time.
Here is your opportunity. If you want to play with the big boys, Barnes is out. You're in. If not, if Barnes is, if Under's not in at this point, you can clearly tell that Rodgers has had enough with him. And I'm going to say that if you do not see Under in the starting 11 on Wednesday, you can tell that he's not in favor in the club, and we will not retain him at the end of the year, at the end of the season. But this is really a time for the unproven players and the under 23s, and anyone that really wants a spot to fight and do what they can. Because if Evans is out too, you got Armarty coming in, so. And you got to just prove, and this team, I think, is really going to come together, and I hope they come together and be like, we've lost Barnes, we've lost Maddison, we've lost Perez, Praet, Evans, Justin, Morgan, the list just keeps growing.
You forget how long the list is. As in, you forget the names, it kind of like rolls off and it keeps going.
And, being like, they've taken us this far. Let's continue this battle, and this could be a really good. This is the fork in the road for me. This will dictate whether we continue the fight and keep pursuing, or we pull it back and go, it's just not our year. And I think it'll be huge. And I think the next game will really dictate that. Sorry, I read something about Damari Gray, and I got as the media would portray, for example, let's scrap this game. Let's say we didn't get any injuries. Say we've got a couple of injuries and we won the game 3-1. I know it didn't happen. Before you start having a go at me, how will this be looked at? Arsenal were poor today. Arsenal didn't do well. Arsenal didn't defend properly. Arsenal weren't good enough to play. They played in Europa League. Do you know what I mean? And so when it's flipped on its head, it won't be that Leicester were poor today. It won't be Leicester weren't good enough. Leicester don't look tired. It won't be Leicester look tired. Leicester look poor. That's what they'll say. And it's just about giving it a bit of context that I think people are missing out on. And we could sit here and smash the team, and it wouldn't do anything for us. And it doesn't really feel genuine to do so as well. And again, I think Glenn put earlier as well. Hopefully we can move on. Let's see if we can go and smash Burnley. It will be an opportunity. And I'm glad we haven't got like the likes of Chelsea soon, the Man United soon. We have gotten them at the end of the season when hopefully players like Praet will be back. Maddison will definitely be back. These players will be ticking on and hopefully get the best about. People have, again, already starting to go, we had a much of a cushion and then we lost it. I don't think there's any point in seeing that now. People are talking about Damari Gray, which is laughable, not because he's not a good player, because he wouldn't have worked. We sold him. He's moved on. We move on. Like that's what we have to do. It might be an option to try and recall somebody like Dewsbury Hall now with the amount of injuries we've got. You still think we leave him out there? We missed the time to recall.
Oh yeah. We didn't put an extend. We didn't put okay. We can't do that. Scrap that idea then. Yeah. Thinking out loud. But again, we go through and we move on to the next level, because I wouldn't worry too much about today's result being a bad one. It's about the long-term effects. And you're right. Now's your opportunity. You've been wanting a place. Now the place is yours. Do you sink or you swim? We've thrown you in the deep end. What's one of the best things that I kind of want to end on as well? We have the manager, one of the best managers in the world at developing your talents. The best. Now he's going to say to this young under 23 team at Leicester City, goes, right, now what's going to happen? Do you want to step up? Do you want to play? Right. Well, here's the opportunity. Here's how I want you in the team. This is how you're going to play for the team. This is how you're going to become the best player possible. And if they take his advice, they will fly. And you give them a couple of games and they will lose. They will lose games. But if we see progress, that's all that matters. And then next year we'll have a full squad again. And that's all I can say. Can Under play on the left, go into an end line with the ease? I don't know if he can. Do you know, Alex?
I don't know, but I think if you're looking at a situation where Under would be playing, I think you would put Albrighton on the left-hand side. I think that's kind of like easiest patchwork that you can do at this point. You let Under run on the right, and you do what you can. But what you said about, Rodgers, he is the manager you want for young talent. And he is someone that we are very lucky to have. And, you can see comments like, it reminds me of a Claude Puel game or all this, and it's like, it's not the start of a downfall. And I'm just going to reiterate from the last comment. It is not, because, you got to look at this, and you can look at it in a broad view and be like, oh, we've lost all these players. And we've lost to Arsenal. We're out of the Europa League. That's in a rearview mirror. We can't do anything about that. What we can do and what this club can do moving forward is utilize what they have, utilize the players and the youth that they have, and move forward. And you know what? Give 110% every single game. And at the end of the day, we can be proud of this club because they've worked their tail off all season.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's all you can ask for. And like you said, we are very fortunate to be playing the clubs that we are playing right now. We have Burnley and we have Sheffield United, I believe, the next 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're off 8 days. You know what? Perfect time to rest. Play these next 2 games. We can. I still have no worry that we can pull 6 points out of these next 2 games. If we pull out 4 points, I'll be content. If we can pull out 6,
happy.
I'll be more than happy. And moving forward, you got to look at those 2 games. You get that 8-day break until the next game. Perfect time for healing.
Yes.
And we've talked about injury here, injury there, but the players are getting better.
Yes.
And the more time that they have to heal, the better for us. So moving forward, that's the thing. You got to look at the positives. At the end of the season, we're not going to be like, we have all these players injured. We could be like, we got Barnes injured, we got Justin injured. That could be it.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe going to the Euros wouldn't be the best idea for them anyway, because I know they want to, but with the injuries that happen, with what is occurring, if they get left out of the squad, I don't want that for them, for England, for their personal lives, but for the England perspective, I have to be a bit more selfish and go, well, this is what happened. I've just found a list again. I've just found that on Twitter as well, Glenn, that the ladies 1-0 up. So that's good fun. Make sure to tune into Hannah's show. I think she's doing a show with James as well, regarding the Leicester City women's. Again, flying at the top of the league and doing really, really well. So again, Leicester is progressing. Leicester's getting better. And hopefully they can join the men in terms of being in the Premier League as well. And I've just found as well on Twitter the list of 5 players that have the list of players not to be unavailable through injury this season: Schmeichel, Ward, Tielemans, Albrighton, Iheanacho. That's it. That's it. That's all. And that's
2 keepers.
2 keepers, yeah. We can play one up. Well, if can Ward play Cam? That's my question, because that's the place that we need.
You never know.
Can we play Cam? Let's go. I'm just down the road. We can go and have a word with the management and just be like,
I know it's tough. From Canada, you'll be in. I might not. It probably won't be better than Nacho at this point, but at this point,
yeah. Again, somebody made a good point. Again, Nacho's first touch was good in parts of the game. It was his last touch, his ball through, but that's not his game. But he didn't do the worst. I think he would have been under a lot more slander and a lot more crap. But his touch and his moving into space was actually quite decent, and he keeps going there. And he figures out that he can put a ball on target, which he has done in the past. We've got a good player, but again, I don't want to take up too much of your time. And we kind of talk about same things over a while. And to be fair, Alex, I didn't expect us to get towards 40 minutes, to be honest.
No, and it's funny. I think, what? When you first start off, you sit down and you're like, it's more of a gut-wrenching feeling, because you're feeling more like, okay, we just lost Barnes, Evans is injured. Everything sucks. And then, it's kind of great, because the way I kind of view, talking about it after a post-game chat is it's kind of like it's therapeutic in a sense.
Yeah.
You get all of that emotion out, you get all that frustration out, you get all the all the thoughts and all the things you want to say, and all of a sudden it's like, it can become such a negative headspace, and when you end up talking about it, you get other people's opinions, and all of a sudden it's like, it's really not that bad. It's not good. Don't get me wrong, it's terrible.
Yeah.
but this is just another, Leicester have been the club, it seems, that it's never easy. It never has been, and it never will be. And it's just another example of us fighting for our lives and fighting to show everyone else that we are a strong club in the Prem. And we really are. We are just fighting a rough time. And you know what? At the end of the day, like I said, we are still top 4, and we remain top 4. And that's something to be thankful for.
And not just top 4, third at the moment. Third, again, this might be a bit outdated by the time a couple of other results come in. Oh, no, even if everybody else wins, we're still third position, and we're a decent third position. So it's something to look out for. You look at the likes of, again, Arsenal are in doubt. Again, they won today, but they're a club that don't know where they're going. Tottenham don't know where they're going. They don't know which manager is going to be there. Yeah. They've got 2 players that are carrying them through, and they're still 9th. I think you look at the likes of Son and Kane, both phenomenal players, but everywhere else kind of suck, and it's a great position to be in. And I'd just like to say, thanks Alex for once joining. And again, it's we might need to be Beyond the 90 therapy edition or something like that to try and hopefully it helps you guys a little bit, because again, when we're not with each other and we don't get to talk about these things and we just want to go into that negative cycle, it can play over in your head. So hopefully this has helped. So again, some good news. Leicester are up 1-0 at the moment for the ladies. Hopefully can go on a win against Palace as well. And yeah, make sure to subscribe. We're close to 300 subscribers at the moment. So thank you so much for all the support, all the lovely comments you've been given in. Again, I love how much there's negative and positive at the moment as well. Diego Cantor says it best. Come on, you Foxes. We go into the next game against Burnley and we'll try and get a win there. With what team do we play? Who knows? You might see me. You might see Alex. We'll have to see because of the amount of injuries. But thanks for everybody for watching, and we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.